Welcome to another War Game review by the Player's Aid blog. I'm Grant.
I'm Alexander.
So today we played, for the first time, the War in the South scenario for Liberty or Death, which was found in C3i magazine number 30. See, we've now done both of the major games in it. We played South Pacific last week.
Yes.
Fantastic, great, probably the best $35 I've spent in a long time, I think. So today, we focused on this War in the South scenario, which was made based on the Liberty or Death normal game, but it is made for two players. Now, the Liberty or Death normal game, you can play two players. You just each control two of the factions. If you're playing a two-player game, normally you would have the Patriots and the French, or the British and the Indians. In this scenario, all four factions are represented, but as a two-player game, you are truly only controlling two of them.
Yeah.
One side's the British, and you could probably imagine who the British were, Alexander, the redcoat. The other side controls the Patriots, and the Patriots really, I think, use the French more than the British use the Indians.
Yeah, the Indians are basically a static force on the board.
Right.
There's like a couple of ways to use them, but they just kind of sit there and
Kind of run interference.
yeah.
Right?
If you happen to be doing battles, they
can
help
be
you out,
used.
but it's hard to do a lot more with it than that.
So it's a very shortened game as well. We played this in about from setup to tear down about 2.5 to 3 hours,
Yeah.
with about a 30-minute break in between. The game also, and we'll show you the map a little bit, really focuses on only the southern colonies, the colonies south of Virginia, so including Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and then Florida, which isn't a colony, but it's an Indian, in essence, reserve.
Yeah.
And then as well as the three cities of Savannah, Charlestown, and Norfolk. So very small map, very tight. I felt like we started on top of each other. But the game is only done over 3 rounds. There are 8 cards in each round, correct?
One of which is the winter quarters.
So there are
yeah.
7 cards plus a winter quarter.
Yeah.
So you're going to get at least 4 cards in before you potentially turn up a winter quarters, which is going to go through the attrition phase and the winter, the reinforcements and the buying opposition and resources, etc. So a very different game. I think this really, in my opinion, I thought this was pretty awesome. It really highlighted some different aspects of the game and helped us to focus on some different things, very similar to South Pacific. So, Alexander, what did you like about this scenario?
For me, this game actually gave me a lot of the same feeling that I get out of Cuba Libre, in just how it's very condensed, it's very small, it's very tight. There's only 9 spaces available between the cities and the colonies. So there's not a lot of room to maneuver and, I'm focusing over here, I'm doing stuff down here, like, everything is right here in front of you, and it's extremely tight back and forth. That also makes it feel like we did a lot of battles, which is great. And you're not worried about swinging troops around and all the maneuvering. That was very, very enjoyable.
Probably more battles than a normal game, I think. Maybe about the same amount.
At least relatively speaking,
Right.
I feel.
Felt like we did more battling in this one.
Yeah, and they're more focused as well, so it feels like this is just North Carolina and South Carolina are just bloody as hell because
Right.
there was so much fighting and death going on there. But the other thing I liked was they've made it a 2-player game, and I really enjoyed that they took the other 2 factions out of it, because what that meant is that the game was very quick.
Yeah.
Your faction did something every turn. It wasn't like, I'm making a big move with the British, and then it's like, I'm doing something with the Indians next turn, and then like, then I can get back on the British train. Like, it was just much more focused in that way for a 2-player game. Playing the main Liberty or Death 2-player where you control both the factions, it doesn't shorten the game any.
Right.
It's the same length, so you can still play for a really long time, getting through over 100 cards. This has got 21 cards in the deck, and you just go, and I really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah. I think 2 things that I really enjoyed about this game. This made, I think, the opposition and support mechanic a lot more important, it seemed, than in the larger game. Although that is still a part of the victory conditions, right, in the larger game. I felt like here, I was worried from the get-go, and that's probably because it was 3 rounds.
Yes.
But I was worried about my active opposition as compared to your support immediately. And I really kind of like that because it actually forced me to, I felt like I took rabble-rousing
Quite
a little more than I normally would have.
And you're limited in the number of propaganda tokens you have, so you have to be more judicious about that.
Right.
The other thing I liked was that they take away out those immediate victories. There's no like instant win,
Right.
which there is in the main scenario, and that's where you would concern yourself about the opposition. You're playing it out, and it's trying to hang on to that support for 3 rounds. It's a different ball game.
The other thing I really liked, the new leaders.
Yeah, they were great.
Absolutely atrocious. Horatio Gates, which is the starting Patriot leader, he literally offers no benefit.
Basically.
Right. There's no benefit to him, and
Prevost is like even worse.
Yeah.
He gives you a negative. Every march action is double the price.
Right.
Okay.
Which was something that kind of caught us early on. It really prevented some major things from happening.
I can't make this move because I've got resources, or I can't do the thing after I want to move.
Now I'm curious. I can't even remember what Gates' ability was, but it was atrocious.
It was he doesn't get the +1 leadership bonus in attacking.
Right. So there was almost no reason to use him as a leader because you didn't get the benefit from it. So
but this is
very
horrible,
odd.
though.
It is.
Washington leaves to go up north, and
he's like, I'm in charge, and then a couple weeks later, it's like, I'm not in charge, and maybe not a couple weeks, but really liked those leaders. I actually liked the standees, and what we did, and you probably can't see this, is we took the normal thicker cardboard standees that came with Liberty or Death, and then folded those over and put them on the, I don't know, what you call this, the base.
Yeah, but trying to put just the card in here, it just falls out immediately. You've got to put something in there to help.
I liked that. I thought that was cool. I did miss Washington, though. I will tell you, there were several times that I would have liked his additional benefits, particularly on the Win the Day, doubling Win the Day.
This scenario was a great way to get Liberty or Death to the table again in a much more playable environment, I felt.
Right.
And I'm like, yep, we can do this again.
Yeah.
This is one short session, and I really enjoyed the fact that it made this game much more accessible and playable in reality.
So in general, comments about Liberty or Death, very quickly, and I'm actually working on a written review. It's just taken me a while. I feel like I'm trying to do it really well. But this game is not about huge battles. It's not about moving 15 troops in and crushing your enemy. Battling is an important aspect, but it mainly is about positioning and wrangling things so that you take advantage of your victory conditions. And that's something I really enjoy about this game, even more so than the rest of the coin games, I think. This also feels very different. It feels more 18th century than the others. You don't have M16s or tanks.
It's hard to wipe out an entire force off the board.
Although I tell you, you rolled well.
We did some
I
good
rolled
ones,
well.
But it's much more attritional in style.
It is, and that's good. The 18th century was like that. The game ended up ending with a Patriot victory, 7-4. So I had 7 opposition, and you had 4 support.
Yes.
But it, to be honest, 1 or 2 moves,
it was
one way or
on
the
my
other,
pitch until the very end.
And I did really like the squadrons as well. While they're amazing in the real game, I felt like these became a little more important for the blockades in this game, because every time I put them down, what was your first thought?
Get them off.
How are you going to get them off? And that's exactly. And I know in the big game you think about that, but it doesn't seem to be as important. So, anything you didn't like about the scenario, Alexander?
Not particularly. I don't have anything bad to say about it, frankly.
Yeah,
great game, great scenario of that game, made it more playable. That's only a positive for me.
We also really laughed at Harold's commentary in there about whether you have a disagreement about the rules, because he didn't rewrite the entire rule set. He kind of added in what was written in red text in the book that said, "Hey, add this to the special activities or the commands," and that's not found on the player aids. So it kind of said, "Hey, if you get confused, if you're arguing about things, go to Greco-Roman wrestling, 2 out of 3 and you win." I thought that was kind of funny, but I would have preferred debating.
Yes. Well, that was the first option. But if you can't settle it by a debate, you got to wrestle.
I mean, I could definitely see myself trying to debate with you about.
I would want to keep on a debate level.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to real quickly show you the look of the board, just so you get a feel for not only the Liberty or Death game itself, but the scenario and how it worked out. So once again, we talked about Virginia South. So the colonies there are shown. Here's the final look at our final setup and the final conditions. So you can kind of see really most of the battling was in North Carolina and South Carolina, right?
That's where ours was, yeah.
I think we had a couple battles here in Charlestown and maybe one in Virginia. But other than that, I don't think we battled. There obviously was a battle getting ready to happen there. But you can see the not a lot of units, although look at the dead pile over on the right side. And Alexander, explain why there's so many dead dudes, because that last round we had 2 battles.
We had 2 battles, and we both rolled unbelievably highly, like almost maxed out our die rolls.
I think you rolled 2 3s and a 2 one time. I rolled a couple 3s.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous.
And that is not usually how I felt like it went. But we had big armies fighting each other.
Yeah.
Usually, if you've got 4 or 5 cubes fighting, you roll only 1 die. Losses are going to be much more minimal.
Yeah. And why were there 2 big battles? They were both initiated by you.
Well, they were there because I was trying to take South Carolina here at the very end, and I was trying to get enough guys there so I could kind of wipe Grant and be able to win the day, which in doing so allows you to swing opposition away from the enemy, and I would have been able to make it neutral, and it would have gotten me much closer to winning. But unfortunately, the battles, one was a draw, and the other one I lost by one cube.
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to actually do that.
And the interesting thing, you lost in that battle because I had an underground Patriot unit that was offering +1 loss, which was awesome. But definitely the very last turn, my focus was solely on trying to do rabble rousing to increase
the propaganda,
the propaganda, and make it harder for you to buy, as well as to increase the opposition. I also focused on the blockades, right?
And I was looking to do muster because that allows the British to buy that support, but I just didn't have enough resources. And that was something that I did notice in this game.
Very tight.
Resources incredibly tight. You don't have many, and they're hard to come by just because the map's smaller.
Yeah.
But you'd love to have 2 or 3 extra resources every round, but that makes you make extremely hard decisions.
Well, I think as the Patriot player, I definitely missed the ability for the French to give their resources over to me, because there were several times I was like, all I need is 1 more resource and I can do something big, and I just didn't have it. So that was definitely interesting. And once again, this scenario kind of has brought focus on a couple different items, which is cool.
Yeah, it was neat.
So there's the end of the board. We'll go ahead and go back for a wrap-up. Right, so one other thing we'd like to talk about, in the optional rules for the scenario, it actually told you could use the 2-player eligibility or initiative track that's been developed for Colonial Twilight by Brian Train for this game, because it's a 2-player game. So what I did, I downloaded this from the internet, and I don't know if you can see that really well, but it is very different looking than the sequence of play eligibility track that is printed on the board. And as you can see, there are 4 spaces where actions can be taken, and then there's a pass space in the middle. But the orange colored, or what color is that? The tan colored areas, if you take those, you lose the first eligibility, so you move back to second. So it was very interesting, I think, to use this. Once again, developed by Brian Train, and I know Harold Buchanan asked permission to use it, and he obviously said yes.
And I would recommend using that over the initiative on the cards to playing this scenario.
Right.
I would definitely recommend doing that.
Well, and the reason for that is a lot of those cards, it came up and it would have been either British first a lot, or...
It would have been British first, British event. Americans first, American event.
Yeah, it kind of been boring.
That's kind of what the deck is, but this changes that up and makes there an extra level of strategy.
Yeah.
And overall, this scenario is fantastic.
Yep.
This made it very interesting, very well put together. Again, love this game anyway.
Yeah.
And this is just a great way to get it played. And I can't stress that enough. Getting this game played is always something that I would appreciate.
So thank you for joining us today. What I would say is thank you, Harold Buchanan, for designing this scenario. I really appreciate that. I know in my interview that we did almost a year ago now, you kind of alluded to this, and I'm glad that I was able to get it, now play it. I've enjoyed it, and hopefully maybe we can play it in the future. Also would love to do it solo just to see. I know that you couldn't really use the bots, but kind of play the best play for each side. I think it would be very fascinating. So definitely, if you haven't picked up a copy of C3i number 30, get out and do so. South Pacific, War in the South, as well as dozens of other counters and options for other games.
You do have to have the base game to play this.
Yes.
Stuff.
Yeah, you do have to have the base game. Yeah,
for
absolutely.
South Pacific, you don't.
You did not. Yeah.
It's War in the South. You got to get the game.
Good point. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Awesome. Thanks, Alexander.
Big.
That was fun.